The implement controls on the Caterpillar H-Series motor graders are designed to reduce operator fatigue. Properly spaced control levers and short lever throws allow you to use multiple controls with one hand. There are some basic rules to keep in mind for the H-Series implement controls. An important safety note: always ground the mold board, gripper, or snow wing before stopping the engine. If you don't, the implement could lower suddenly. Moving a control lever forward will lower or move the implement to the left. Pull a lever back toward you, it will raise or move the implement to the right. The implement controls are modulated. That means that a small movement of the lever results in a slow, precise implement movement. The implement moves faster or farther as you increase lever travel. Lever throw is 3/4 of an inch each way. Lever efforts have been reduced to about 3 pounds for comfortable operation all day long. When the machine has reached operating temperatures, raise the blade, release the parking brake, select a speed and direction, and set the throttle control. The two outside levers are blade lift controls. We'll illustrate with the right one. Moving it forward lowers the right end of the blade. Pulling it back raises the right end of the blade. Move the blade lift lever completely forward. This puts the right cylinder in float. Hydraulic oil now moves freely between the head end and the rod end of the blade lift cylinder. The blade will move up and down under its own weight, and you can float one or both ends of the blade at the same time. A good example of when to use blade float is when you're working on snow. The blade side shift control lets you shift the mold board side to side on the circle. Forward for the left, back to the right. Use the side shift controls when working around objects like curves, or to get maximum reach with the mold board. Changing the angle of the circle allows you to change the mold board cutting angle. This is important for better material movement on the blade or mixing materials, and to narrow or widen the cutting width. With the blade square to the frame, the blade is said to be an angle of 0 degrees. The blade angle is usually between 30 and 45 degrees to the frame. In general, the circle will be at a flatter angle, 30 to 35 degrees for dry material, and at a steeper angle for wet, cohesive material. The blade side shift and circle controls are frequently used together. For example, moving both levers forward moves the circle counterclockwise, the toes to the right, and mold board side shifts to the left on the circle. This allows you to position the blade quickly while turning around to get ready for the next cutting pass. Move both levers to the rear to make the circle rotate clockwise, and the blade moves right on the circle. Move this lever to lower or raise a front scarifier or a rear ripper scarifier if your machine is equipped with one. Tipping the blade allows you to change the cutting edge approach angle to the ground. Move the lever forward and the top of the blade tips forward. Move it back and the top of the blade moves back. Normally, a grader will move material across the area being graded, not straight ahead. You can move more material if it rolls off the blade rather than being bulldozed. Keep the material rolling by changing tip position slightly as the material slows. For most of the work you do, place the top of the mold board about 2 inches ahead of the cutting edge. Depending on the material, you may have to make slight adjustments to this position. For finishing work, bank sloping, and snow plowing, the blade is normally tipped forward until the cutting edge is at about a 90-degree angle to the surface being graded. Use the blade tip control to change cutting depth evenly across the blade when you do finish grading, bank sloping, or when feathering material at the end of a pass. For finish work, tipping the blade about 3 inches forward will allow circle rotation with little or no effect on the slope you're cutting. We're now going to move the center shift cylinder. Ground the blade in the dirt before moving the pin out of a hole. Using the circle center shift to change the position of the mold board in relation to the frame will give you maximum reach. If your machine is equipped with snow attachments, verify the optional implement control locations on your machine. If your machine has a snow wing, you have levers that control its movements. The tilt lever moves the heel or trailing end of the snow wing. The lift lever moves the mast of the snow wing. If your grader has a plow or plow dozer, a lever raises and lowers it. It also has a float and a hold position. Other optional controls are available. Wheel lean counteracts side draft caused by blade load. Push the lever forward for left wheel lean. Pull it back for right wheel lean. As the front end of the motor grader moves off the desired line of travel, lean the top of the tires toward the heel of the blade, toward the direction of the material movement. Wheel lean is also helpful when you need to keep the wheels vertical for ditching and for slope work. Wheel lean can also increase reach, and it can vary the depth of cut on bank or back slopes. Use it to make slight steering corrections when you're finished grading, so your hands stay on the blade lift levers. Wheel lean used with articulation makes tighter, faster machine turnarounds. Push both controls forward for a left turn. Pull them back for a right turn. Articulation helps you do a variety of tasks. Counteract side draft caused by big blade loads. Keep the rear of the machine away from banks or shoulders, and in firm underfoot to prevent rutting. Keep the drive wheels out of soft areas and wet ditches. Keep material flowing along the mold board. Get greater stability when working on slopes. And whenever you articulate your machine, watch closely to make sure you keep the mold board out of the tires. Whether you are an experienced operator or just getting started, Caterpillar H-Series motor graders are easy to operate and easy to maintain. Get to know the machine and make it work for you.